I'm Mickey, also known as Swagglehoss from the YouTube channel Swagglehoss Comics and Games, where I talk about the hobby of comics and comic book collecting. And I'm here to tell you that your comic book collection deserves better.
What the hell, man?
And it's gonna have spine ticks. You see, for the last few years, your pull list has been plagued with low-quality printing, overdone gimmick covers, and rare exclusive variants that are rarely exclusive nor varied. But with my new comic series Sanity, Rise of the Occult, a Lovecraftian pulp adventure that pays homage to the detective style of comics from the Golden Age, I promise to subvert your expectations by actually providing you a high-quality comic with a cohesive story in its pages. Yeah, that's right. There's a story behind this cover. You see, Sanity wasn't created by some click of a button on an AI program intended to make the FOMO book of the week. It was done the old-fashioned way, sitting at a desk for weeks on end, developing carpal tunnel and bad posture, and not getting paid a single dollar to do so. I mean, aren't you tired of paying for overpriced foiled variants that publishers have marked up? With my book, you can get yourself a copy, a box of Reynolds wrap with over 75 strips of shiny, and have enough money left over to save up for that Grail you've been going after. Dark Hawk One to the moon! And do you really need another book with Power Girl on the cover showing off her massive capes? The problem with those covers is that it requires you to change the bag every 2 days. And have you seen the prices for comic book supplies? That Mylar really adds up. My book only requires one bag. Scrolls. So head on over to SwagglehossComics.com and start improving your comic book collection today with a copy of Sanity issue number 1. And be quick. Because when I say my print run is limited, I actually mean it. How's that for proof of destruction? My name is Swagglehoss, and I'm here to tell you that your comic book collection deserves better. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the preview show of the Bobby Blue Collection. I am Swagglehoss, and joined alongside me is actually going to be nobody here tonight because I'm going to do this show solo. And we got ourselves an epic preview of all of the crazy books coming out this week on Comic Connect. Of course, the Bobby Blue Collection, the infamous Bobby Blue Collection. A lot of the big grails going up for sale in that show. And we're going to be breaking them down here today. Of course, I did my conversation with Flip Mode Comics on Swagglecast the other week. So I'm very, very excited to talk about some of the books, keep our eye on some of the markets, see what's going to go down, see what they're going to sell for. Much to maybe my reservation of doing this, because there's actually a few books that I myself would like to bid on. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe I shouldn't actually preview these books. But I realize that, the big ones that we need to talk about are probably not going to be ones that I bid on anyway. So I think that this show will be fine. But a very, very exciting preview to do here today. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of just go through some of the books, talk about, what I think that they might be selling for, maybe point out some underrated ones. And we can just kind of hang out and have this early Sunday conversation together. Of course, I'm here in the Southern California area, so there's a storm coming. Apparently, it is raining outside, which in Los Angeles, California, is not weather that I signed up for. I'm used to 72 and sunny, and when things rain, it definitely shuts down. So I have nothing better to do than to talk about books with you guys here today, drink some coffee, and see what we can predict is going to happen in the comic book market. But before I do all of that, let me do a quick little check-in with the chat here just to see who's able to join this morning. I know it's a little bit of an impromptu show. We got William Munn in the chat here. William, what's going on, man? Ready for you? I'm ready too, man. I'm ready too. We got some books to talk about. It's funny. I was trying to do a little bit of this, I'm going to do like a NFL pregame style. I'm going to have the music here. Just put this music in the background. Hopefully it's not actually drowning me out here. You guys hear that? I was thinking it'd be cool to do something like that. Maybe go really overboard with it. Almost like a WWE wrestler preview show. But I feel like I would need people to do that with. It'd be more fun. All right, Eggplant Comics here. We got him in the house. Swaggle, come out and play. I'm here. Warriors. We got Zachary Duncan in the house. Hey, Mickey, what's going on, Zach? We got TMNT Cool Guy in the house. We got Michael Baker. Hello, Sunday stream. It's always fun to do a Sunday stream. It feels very, very relaxed. You know, just hang out. Maybe you guys are all, I don't know, doing chores, bagging and boarding books, you know, maybe just vacuuming. That's what I assume everyone is doing today. What's up, Mickey? Love this commercial. Nice job. Yeah, thanks, Planet Arizona. I mean, look, I'm going to have to milk the commercial as much as I can, you know, especially since I pay to get it done. So I'm going to have to play the commercial whenever I can play it. And YouTube is a funny thing because I posted the commercial to my YouTube, but it's short, right? It's like whatever, 2 minutes long. So YouTube would rather have people watch longer form content. So sometimes I gotta place in the commercial, or I should say the commercial doesn't get pushed out as much as my normal videos do. So I have to kind of seed them into these live streams. All right, we got Steven here. Hey there, I thought I had the Bobby Blue Cap America 36, but just got outbid at 12K. Steven G, well, you know, here's the question though. You know, it's hard to know, you know, some of these auction prices that are currently up right now. I mean, I have to assume that they're going to jump up tremendously. I mean, you might think that you were winning, but I mean, you know, when these things go live, these books really shoot up. But we're going to talk about that one. And I actually do have Cap 36 pulled up specifically that I do want to talk about that one. Eggplant flamethrower action. Yeah, you know, I'm definitely going to milk the flamethrower as much as I can, you know, whenever I can. And, you know, maybe I can make it a meme like, hey, guys, we got a lot of hot books to talk about in this auction. You know, so I could do stuff like that. That would be kind of fun. Luis Mendoza, what up, Swaggle House? Love your channel. Thanks, Luis. Sweet, my first live stream, able to catch you. Yeah, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. And then we got a super chat here from Matt with the $5. Nothing to say, Matt, but really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much for sending over that super chat. All right, let's kind of check back in here. All right, we're going to catching up with the chat. We're pretty much caught up. We're pretty much caught up. A little bit more housekeeping before I really dive into it, though, guys. We got to talk a little bit about some channel sponsors right here, like TorpedoComics.com, great comic book store, friends of the channel, and the sponsor of today's stream. If you guys don't know about TorpedoComics.com, they're based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. They have stores in the Southern California area as well. They just had Torpedo Comic Con, a great kind of smaller medium show in the Southern California area. I was there. And they also have this online store, TorpedoComics.com, where you can buy great things like raw comics. They got slab comics. They got new inventory. They got CGC comics. They have Essentia that's done by John Dolomane that you can pick up, support independent comic book creators. And the best thing about this shop is that if you use my promo code SwaggleHoss, you can save 10% off on your order. So if you don't have the budget to buy some of these Bobby Blue books, you can head over to TorpedoComics.com and buy some of their stuff, which is a lot more affordable. I mean, an X-Men 198 signed by basically everyone who worked on it. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. So definitely go check out TorpedoComics.com. Also, sponsoring this video is me, SwaggleHossComics.com, where you can buy my comic Sanity. I just played you guys the commercial earlier in the stream. Cover A still available. A couple cover C still available as well. So head on over to those websites to check out TorpedoComics.com. Thank you for sponsoring this stream. And also SwaggleHossComics.com. Also, thank you, me, for sponsoring the stream. Go pick up a book. Best way to support the channel. All right, let's get into this auction talk here today. Now, if you guys don't happen to know, Comic Connect is one of the big auction houses there is in specifically tailor-made for comic books. I mean, they sell a lot of different collectibles, but if you're talking about purely collectible, they might be one of the biggest, one of the most focused. Like Heritage Auctions obviously does all sorts of things. You know, they go into coins, they go into historical documents, they go into World War II figures and paintings and things like that. So Comic Connect is one of the big ones. I also had a Swagglecast conversation with Vincent Zurzolo, who is the CEO and co-owner of Comic Connect. Had that on the channel. We talked a little bit about this preview, and then eventually I had the Flip Mode guys, comic book dealers, great guys. I had them on a Swagglecast episode. I have the link in the description, basically talking about how they discovered this incredible comic book collection by this guy named Bobby Blue, who basically was a collector from way back in the day. He kind of bought a lot of these comic books off of the rack. And now he was sort of ready to part with his collection. It was a very, very interesting story. And part of the story was that his mom actually would write his name, Bobby Blue, on all of the comic books that he owned. So almost every comic book that we're going to talk about today actually has the name Bobby Blue written on it. Now, it wasn't a pedigree collection. Normally, when you have sort of these epic finds, you might see CGC give these the distinction of pedigree collection. Which means it's an original owner collection and maybe has some story behind it. But the grades did not quite hit the level that is required for a pedigree collection. But they were able to add a very cool thing to it, which on the label, you'll see that all of these books right here say the Bobby Blue collection. So while it's not the pedigree label, while it doesn't have the gold and black, it does say Bobby Blue up here. So it gives it a little special something. And as you guys can see, all these books have Bobby Blue written on the cover, which, you know, it's kind of an interesting thing because there's a lot of people out there that may not like having writing on the cover. Writing on the cover never really bothers me, assuming that, you know, it's not written over like the art or like written over, say in this instance, Archie's face. You know, this doesn't really bother me that it's up there. And actually, I would say that it kind of makes it kind of cool for this particular collection, being that, you know, the Bobby Blue collection is on the label. So there is some kind of mystery and mystique that is associated to, you know, the writing on the cover, unlike, you know, other times when there's writing on the cover that has no bearing on, you know, who actually the owner of the book was. But I wanted to talk about these books today. Let me close some of these windows here before I go crazy. I wanted to talk about some of these books today, just kind of do some previews, maybe talk about some of the big ones that are going to be coming up, do some predictions on prices. You know, maybe we can have some conversations in the chat here if you guys happen to, you know, be bidding on any of this stuff. I mean, I know somebody earlier mentioned that they were bidding on that Cap 36. So I'd like to know if you guys are in the running for some of these books or what you think some of them are going to go for. But I have a feeling that this auction is going to do pretty well. I know right now it's, you know, some of the prices look low, but I really do believe that, you know, when the auction starts, that's when everything is going to get crazy, because I think a lot of the people buying a lot of these books are going to be comic book dealers themselves. So I think when comic book dealers are interested in this stuff, yes, they want to get competitive prices, but I also think that they're here to play. You know, comic book dealers are here to play. I see a couple people in the chat. Let me quickly just say hello to some other people here. We got Comics with Bonix in the chat. Hey, Swag, good to see you, brother. Hey, Comics with Bonix, good to see you. Congrats on your trade. Go check out Comics with Bonix YouTube channel. He just made a great trade for himself, getting an FF5 and a 4.5, which was pretty sweet. We got Como Comic Books in the house. Of course, he forgot to switch over to his actual account, Como Comic Books. Shout out to Como. He just had a sale. No, excuse me. He had his own small comic book con in his local area. He just did that yesterday. He actually put it together. And from what he was saying, it was a big success. So congratulations to him. And if you are in the kind of Midwest, St. Louis, Columbus area, I think you should stay tuned for the next Como Comic Show. You definitely should go if you can make it. We also got Comics with Bueller in the chat. Hello, my friend. I totally forgot to have you sign your book you gave me. Yes, that's unfortunate. I should have totally signed it. Shout out to Comics with Bueller. We were on a panel together at San Diego Comic-Con, and he actually, or I gave him a copy of my comic book. But Bueller, that just means that I'll have to find you again. We'll have to meet up, and I will happily sign it for you. If you're going to New York Comic Con, I think I might be going to New York Comic Con. So maybe I can catch you there. All right, let's jump back into it, guys. Again, I wanted to preview some of the books right here and just sort of talk about them. We could talk a little bit about the prices. We could talk a little bit about why these books are so special and desirable. And let's jump right into it. This first one I actually already pulled up for you guys was when I was showing you to talk about the Bobby Blue label in general. But this right here, Archie Comics #1 from 1942, the first issue of Archie Comics. This is a big book right here. I mean, Archie is a very, very interesting character. Obviously, historic. A lot of people love Archie. I mean, even though he was before my time, I remember growing up with Archie. Like, I think he was in like newspapers and things like that. I'm pretty sure that there were like books with Archie. So this is like obviously a American sort of comic cultural icon. And that's one of the reasons why his books are so competitive. I mean, later on, we're going to talk about his actual first appearance that is in the Pep Comics 22. And we'll get into that later on in this auction. But books like this, Archie #1, are definitely very desirable in the market. I mean, I don't have a personal affinity towards Archie. I mean, I think that they're fun comics, but I'm kind of glad that I don't have a affinity towards it because, when you look at some of these prices, I mean, my goodness. Currently, right now, sitting at $9,700 is a 2.5 grade. Now, I had it actually pulled up right here. Hard to know what some of these books are actually going to be selling for. We can take a look at some of the last sales. Now, again, this is Go Collect, so take it all with a grain of salt. But you can see that a 1.5 went earlier this year in April for 11,400. Had a big chip right here on the top, which could be an eyesore for some people. And then a 3.0 went in May of last year for, what do we see right here? 20,400. Now, another little eyesore. We got some pen mark right in here. So I would suspect that a 2.5 can do somewhere in between this or pretty well. I mean, the previous 3.0 to that also went for 30,000. So kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if these are accurate numbers. I mean, with Go Collect, you can never really tell, but 31,000 in March of 2022 for a 3.0, and then drops all the way to 20,000 in May of 2022. So a pretty big difference. Now, it could be that this pen mark just really, really hurt some of the eye appeal for a lot of comic book collectors, or it could have been that the people that were competing for this book were two people who really wanted it. And then they bid it all the way up to 30,000. And then this is one of the tricky things with Golden Age is that once you bid it up to 30,000 and then that person who wanted it got the book, well, now a couple months later, it went up for auction again, and you didn't have the slugfest that you did in the previous auction. So always a little bit of a risk with that. But, that's kind of, I think, far and few between some of those situations. I suspect that this book, I mean, I would suspect that it's going to be at the $20,000 level for sure, around that level. I mean, it's going to finish maybe under that. There's a 15% buyer's premium, which the buyer's premium will be added to the fair market value. So when it gets updated on GPA, then it'll definitely be baked into the fair market value of the book. So kind of an interesting one here. It's a nice 2.5. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, it's got a little chip down here, but that doesn't bother me too much because it's not really on any of the key art or key part of the art. Now, again, it does have the Bobby Blue up there, but I think that this is going to be a hit or miss with some people. Either people are really going to like that or people are really going to hate that. So that could affect it, but a cool book, in my opinion. And, we'll definitely talk about his first appearance later on in the stream. Let me check back in here with a couple other people. Kerry White says, "Hey, Swag, hope the weather gives you guys a break out there." Yeah, well, it's definitely coming down pretty hard. I mean, here in California, we can always use a little bit of rain. It's always a good thing. Planet Arizona Comics, I'm not getting rained on, so I'm good. Well, it's good to know that you're dry and warm out there. And shout out to Nando Knight. What's up, Swag? What's going on, Nando? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. All right, let's kind of jump in over, again, a lot of these Bobby Blue books, a lot of cool stuff. You got a Batman 62 here. You got a Detective Comics 47. You got a Detective Comics 73. This is also a very, very cool book. First Golden Age appearance of the Scarecrow. in my opinion, a really cool cover. Currently sitting at the $7,000 price point, a Bob Kane, cover and art. I don't know how you guys feel about some of the Batman villains here in the Golden Age. I think that they're pretty cool. They also have their Silver Age appearances that are also desirable. But this is, you don't see this one too often. Generally, I mean, you don't see any of these books too often, to be honest. But this is one that I definitely very, very rarely see this. I have this one going in between, I think 10,000 and 11,000, something like that. You can actually see that this is a book that just had recent sales. A 6.0 sold for 12,000, and then a 5.0 sold for 10.8. So this 5.5, I assume, is going to finish right smack in the middle at 11,000. And it's really rare to see that actually here in June you had a couple sales for that. That's the only 2 sales in 2023. You can see that there was only 3 sales in 2022, and there was only 5 sales in 2021. So really not too often that you see these books, but very, very cool cover regardless. And I suspect that this is going to finish around that $11,000 price point. All right. Let's check back in here with the chat. Personally, I love that Scarecrow cover. I also don't see a Bobby Blue written on it. Yeah. There are a few books here that don't have the Bobby Blue written on it. I think in general they did. But yeah, I suppose just not everyone had the pen on it, like this one right here. There's another one. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the bigger keys that didn't have the Bobby Blue written on it as well. But I feel like in general, it's only going to help the value of the book if it's not written on it. Because if there's people who like this as a pseudo pedigree book, they're still going to have the Bobby Blue written on the label. So I think that's still going to be something that people can enjoy by itself. So I think that if it's not written on it, it's probably going to be a good thing altogether. You got another one right here, Mad #1. This is kind of a cool book when EC sort of was turning over to sort of the less horror stuff. But, the first Mad issue, this would go on to be, Mad Magazine and all that stuff that we kind of know. And this is a beautiful 6.5 right here. Beautiful 6.5. Acknowledges the first satire comic, which I actually didn't realize. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Like, of course, it's Mad Magazine, but I didn't realize that this was, in fact, the first satire comic book, which is definitely pretty cool. One you don't see too often. I didn't do price checks on this one because, we got a lot to talk about. Like this next one right here, I think that this book is pretty badass. USA Comics #6. This is one that I feel like you never see this one. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about Captain America comic books. We can talk about a lot of Marvel mystery comics and Schomburg covers and things like that and Submariners and stuff. These USAs are pretty rare, specifically this USA 6 right here. And if you guys don't know, USA Comics was kind of like it was like an anthology series. It's like how they would do like Marvel Comics Presents, in the 80s, and then they would just be able to put whatever comic character in that title run. So this issue in particular happens to be a Captain America version, but there were other superheroes that were in this run as well. And this book right here was done by Schomburg, which Alex Schomburg, for sure, in my opinion, is in one of the top Golden Age artists of all time. Especially if you're going to say, World War II related comic book covers, I think that it's very fair to say that Alex Schomburg is the king of that. And I love how he draws Captain America. There's a lot of great Captain America books. And with these covers, you always got to figure, okay, what are the elements that people are going to like with a lot of these covers? If you're somebody out there who wants to get in on this stuff, and it's not like I can speak to it. It's not like I have a ton of the stuff, but I can recognize what aesthetics are that people love about this. You got a cool action pose right here with Captain America. You got him beating up Nazis. Anytime you have a cover of him punching Nazis, it's always going to be celebrated. You got what I'll call a pseudo bondage cover, although it's a bondage of Bucky. If you swap Bucky for a woman right here, you 2x the value of this comic book instantly. But we're going to talk about some of these other covers very soon. The Nazi stuff. It's very interesting to see because a lot of these covers, it's either Captain America punching Nazis or it's him punching Japanese soldiers. And a lot of the Japanese soldier covers are, when it comes to a little bit dated with the times and some of the depictions of some of those soldiers. And you can actually see it in the prices of the comic books. People are happy to own a Captain America punching a Nazi cover, but Captain America punching a stereotypical depiction of a Japanese soldier is harder to pull that one off from the shelf, but still a lot of cool covers, and we'll get into that. But this USA Comics one is, again, really, really rare. I don't see it too often. Only 36 on the census. What is it currently sitting at? It's currently sitting at $3,000 and a 4.0. And last sales for this were a 2.0 went for 36, and then a 7.0 went for 16,000. So there hasn't been a sale in this calendar year. Only 3 sales in 2022, no sales in 2021, 2 sales in 2020, 1 sale in 2019. So you can see, it's very, very far and few between that this book sells. So it depends. If this is a book that just somebody really wants to complete their collection, it could get super competitive. I mean, it's already going to beat the 2.0 sale. I suspect that this book is definitely going to go in the $5,000 to $6,000 range. I would say that that's a pretty safe assumption. But if somebody really needs to add it to their collection, if they really need it, you never know. It could jump up to 7 or so. And it's a nice presenting 4.0. It's a really, really nice colors. At least the scan presents as nice. A little bit of chipping on the edges here, which is probably why it got knocked so hard. Little crease right there, a little chip right there. But I've seen 4.0s that look worse than that. So a really, really nice presenting book. Let's see right here. Carrie Wood says, war, torture, Nazi, Captain America, always in high demand. Yeah. Anytime you have those combined elements, punching Nazis, cool, heroic war pose. If you have the torture where there's like a lady on the cover, the bondage stuff, people are going to like that. Saving, the damsel in distress. Trilogy, what's going on, man? The Japanese were just as brutal as the Nazis to the Chinese. Yeah. Well, it was World War II. There was a lot of craziness going on. I always refer to that Nazi Japanese soldiers that Cap beats up as 10-cent depictions. Yeah, for sure. All right. A couple other cool books right here. Now I'm just focusing on the Bobby Blue stuff. Obviously, you got, Submariner Comics, a pretty cool one as well. I mean, here's another example of, you have another Submariner punching Nazis, looking like a hero. We're going to talk about All-Star #1 soon, so I'll save the discussion here. But again, another Schomburg cover. He did a lot of this kind of stuff, and I'm sure there's going to be a book that sells pretty well as well, but not necessarily a key, just sort of a great cover, in my opinion. You got the other USA Comics one here, which again didn't feature Captain America. So I assume the Captain America ones are going to be more desirable. Another USA Comics one here that, in my opinion, the art isn't as cool, but it could still be pretty desirable for sure. Again, you have some torture device stuff going on right here, which is kind of fun. It feels like this is like a cover of Saw. Got some horror elements too, which it's kind of cool when Captain America sort of dived into the horror elements as he was sort of aging out of World War II, or as the market was aging out of the World War II times. They were like, okay, how do we save this Captain America character? We got to insert him into some pre-code horror looking stuff, which at that time was the new hot thing. We got some voodoos right here. I don't know about you guys. I've never been a fan of voodoo comics. I feel like, because again, when PCH got big, and maybe I'm wrong with this, let me know in the comments. What do you guys think about some of these voodoo covers? When PCH got big, it was like a big push to do all the PCH at that time. It was like, all right, this is what the kids want. Let's go. Just print it, go. And so a lot of these sort of like the other series, outside EC, outside Chamber of Chills, outside some of the bigger titles, there's a lot of ones that popped up. And I don't love the art style. Now, this one is pretty cool in general. It's got this kind of neon green, which is unique, kind of a cool skull cover. So I realized that people like this book, but for me, it feels like the art is not quite as dialed as some of the other stuff that we've seen. But Voodoo 15 of the Voodoos is in my opinion, one of the cooler ones. Now it's interesting here because again, there's no credits for this cover and for the story. And I think that this was one of those situations where we'll probably never know because again, at that time when it was like, okay, we got to just get it out there. PCH is hot or horror is hot. Let's print more comics. You know, they were like using these factories or they were crowdsourcing them or outsourcing them. So you had like artists that were probably just artist houses that did it. So you don't actually know who did it. You know, it's not like, oh, this was done by Johnny Craig or this one was done by, you know, Lee Elias or whatever. So that I think kind of hurts the perception of some of these covers where it's like, you know, you don't get a creator bump for it. But this one of the Voodoos is still pretty cool. It'll be interesting to see what this ends up going for. $9.19 right now. Probably I think a $2,000 book. We got some other cool ones here. You know, some suspense stuff, some air fighters. You got this Walt Disney Donald Duck that a lot of people like, which is cool. And then you got this big boy right here. All Select Comics #1. This one right here has got a lot of cool things going on. One of the, in my opinions, great Schomburg covers. And one of the reasons for that, you got so many things going for this. First, it's a #1 issue, which is nice. You have the trifecta of superheroes that Schomburg was drawing. You got Captain America, you got Human Torch, and you have Submariner all on the cover together. Larger than life here. You got them sieging this castle, you know, punching a bunch of Nazis, which actually, now that I look at this, I feel like I'm getting like Age of Ultron vibes right here. You know, when they had that opening scene where they had to siege that castle where they were doing all the Nazi experiments. I feel like this is kind of like a reference to that. No? Do you think that was intentional? What's going on, Ozzy? Shout out to Comic Ozzy. Thanks for hopping in the chat. Appreciate it. But yeah, All-Star Select 7 or All Select Comics 1 in a 7.0. A great Schomburg cover. One of the great ones. And I think that this one's going to be a monster. I think this is going to be a very competitive book. Currently sitting at $20,250. Plus going to have that 15% buyer's premium. Now, if we go into the numbers here, we see 109 on the census. A 7.0 went for $28,000 a year ago. So we can pull it up right here. See the 7.0. What date was this? This was April of 2023. So only a few months back. April of 2023 went for $28,000. Old CGC label, which obviously, guys, old CGC label lowers the value of this comic by $10,000. Cream to off-white pages. I'm just kidding. Cream to off-white pages. This one right here, off-white pages. I mean, just from the scan, this looks a little bit better. This one looks a little yellowed, you know, when we're talking about the cream to off-white. But again, you can't really tell from the scans. Now, this is one of those instances that it doesn't have the Bobby Blue written on it. So I think that helps this book a lot. So again, this last one going for $28,800. I think it's fair. Well, let's take a look at this. This 6.5 cream to off-white, a little bit more faded in the colors here, went for $21,600. So do we think that this book has the legs? Is it going to go in between that? I mean, it's already at $20,000. It's already at $20,000. I think that this is going to be one of those books that gets competitive. You know, it's like in a vacuum, it's like, okay, last 7.0 went for $28,000. Market right now in the macro is softening a little bit. This 6.5 went for 21. So you might think that this book would go right around, you know, 28 again, maybe 27 or 26 or something like that. But this is one of those situations where, again, I think that this book is going to be really competitive. I think you're going to find yourself in a situation where two dealers are going to be up against each other, bidding back and forth. And you can see that this could be one of those situations where, okay, it's like sitting at 26,000 and the timer is ticking down. And then someone's like, oh, okay, 26.5. And then the timer is ticking down. And it's all at 27,000. And the timer is ticking down. And then it keeps going and it keeps getting more and more competitive. And just like every time the timer ticks down, someone slides that new bid in because they have time to think about it. That's the other thing too. With Comic Connect, their auction style, the way that it works is it's a 3-minute timer that gets reset every time someone puts in a bid. So unlike, say, eBay, where everybody has to jam their bids in at the very last second, or unlike Heritage, where you bid and then the clock pops by like, I don't know what, 5-10 seconds again. This is a 3-minute timer reset, which is kind of annoying, actually, if you're somebody who wants to watch a bunch of auctions. Like, let's say you want to have multiple tabs open, things get all crazy because it's like, okay, this one reset by 3 minutes, and then the next one is coming up. And then you're still watching that one, but the next one's already on the way versus some other auctions that are back to back to back. So it gets a little bit confusing, but I think that ensures that the price is the price. At least that's what Vincent said. When I asked him in my interview with him, I was talking to him and he was like, oh, the reason we do that is because both buyer and seller can know that, cooler head can prevail. You have 3 minutes to think about it, and that's going to be your bid. At least that's the working theory. But I think that this is going to be one of the big books, one of the competitive books in this coming auction. Comics on Ed says, hey, what's up, Swag? What's up, chat? What's going on, Comics on Edge? Good to see you. Vinny Whitlock in the house. Hello, everyone. Vinny, what's going on, man? Good to see you. So yeah, All Select #1. Great Schomburg cover. Big boy book right there. You got some All Select Comics #6. Got some other cool stuff right here. Amazing fantasy, baffling mysteries. Fairly rare. You got this Beware #10 right here, which is a Frazetta cover. A lot of people really dig this book. Obviously, with the Frazetta stuff and a PCH book, a lot of the Frazetta covers that people love dive more into the sci-fi world. So he doesn't have as many Grail key horror Frazetta covers, which kind of makes this book pretty cool. So this one could be a big one as well. Beware #10. Although I feel like it's not a trap book, but a book that, it's a key, but it's not like the mega key. So I feel like a lot of people sell this one to leapfrog into that next big mega key, which, speaking of next big mega keys, we got to talk about this one right here. Probably my all-time favorite. Nah, I can't say that. Captain America Comics #1 is my all-time favorite cover for Cap. But this is a close second. Close second right here. What are you doing? Captain America Comics #3. Incredible Schomburg cover. This right here has got all the things going for it. All the things going for it. Great looking Captain America, drawn so well. Captain America Comics #1, Cap looks great. Captain America Comics #2, it's cool. It's an awesome book. We'll probably talk about it later. It's actually up for sale in this auction as well, just not in the Bobby Blue section. But I don't like how he looks that much. He looks a little weird, when Kirby was on him and Simon and stuff. But this right here, I think Cap looks great right here. One of the better depictions of Cap. On top of that, you got this girl strapped to the rocket right here. So you got that bondage aspect, damsel in distress. And then you got Red Skull right here, his first cover appearance for the Red Skull. Although this is the George Maxson version of the Red Skull, the fake Red Skull. Johann Schmidt is the real Red Skull. But I would say of all of the Captain America Comics books that I personally would want outside of #1, #3 is next in line. Definitely a big grail for me. And it's unfortunate. I'm not going to bid on this one because this one's going to be super competitive. I mean, it's one of the best chances to get in on it. Obviously, it's a 0.5, but it's missing centerfold, which is what makes it the 0.5. But, I've seen worse iterations of the cover for this book. And let's be honest with ourselves. When you're in it to win it with these Golden Age books, it's all about the cover. Who cares if the centerfold is missing? Nobody actually cares. You know what I mean? But this book right here is incredible. It's 0.5. It's going to be so competitive. I think this one's going to blow it up. It's currently sitting at $8,000. Put that into perspective. Let's take a look at some of the recent sales for this. Again, Census has this at 120 total, 62 universal. So not a lot, not the rarest, but not a lot. And the last time a 0.5 sold, you got to go all the way back to, where did I see it? Right here, 2019. Last time 0.5 sold, 2019 for $5,200. So this one already blowing that one out of the water, right? I mean, that's to be expected. That was 2019. We are now 2023. It's already 4 years ago. This one's $8,000 with a 15% buyer's premium. I can't do the math, but you guys can figure it out. And I think we're going to get a lot more bids for this guy. A couple more recent comps right here. Like maybe we can compare this to like, say, I think I saw, so we saw this in March of 2022. We saw this one right here, a 4.0 missing 2 wraps, effect story incomplete. So, and actually has writing on the cover as well. I'd say that these are fairly comparable, you know, in terms of like, okay, we look at this book. I mean, this 4.0 is probably a little bit nicer, but fairly comparable. You can see that this person got it for $10,200. I think that this is going to sell for more than that. We're already at 8,000. I think that this is going to be competitive. Again, my feeling with this book is that this book is because it's a 0.5, because it's a book that everybody wants. That's what's going to make it so competitive. You know, if this was like a 2.5 or 3.0 or a 5.5, becomes a little more specific of the type of buyer who wants to get in the club for that, right? Because it's like you got that middle grade syndrome. But this one, people just want it. So all it takes is 2 people who just want it. They just want to get their hands on it to make it competitive at the bottom. So I suspect this will easily get to 10,000. I could see it going for a little bit more than that. 11, 12, because this is your one chance to get it. I suppose you had a 4.0 restored that went for 87 here. What was the restoration? Cover clean, centerfold reinforced pieces added, cover first, and okay, a bunch of things trimmed. You know, this one's really, really doctored up. So 87. Okay, maybe 10,000. Maybe it's going to be a $10,000 book, although it's already at 8, guys. It's already at 8. I don't know. Check back in with the chat. We got Phil in the house here. What's going on, Phil? Good to see you. Jersey Devil says, what does that say of comic collectors when bondage is a huge plus? Y'all are some freaks out there. Okay. I don't know who's in the chat right now, but you guys are some filthy animals liking that bondage stuff. Carrie Wood says, a double Bobby Blue. Bobby really didn't want anyone to steal this one. No, sir. Double Bobby Blue. Oh, that was on the last book. But yeah, his mom really didn't want him to lose his comic book. Pop Sequentialism, what's going on? Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping in. It'll go triple the price of the last sale, if not finishing at 18K. Was that for the All-Star Select? I don't know if I'm not caught up on the chat right here, but again, Cap Comics number 3. It's going to be competitive. Planet Arizona says, I'm thinking what I need to love to free up funds for that Cap 3. This is not good swag. I'm thinking, well, Planet Arizona, you have 3 days, 4 hours, 14 minutes, and 45 seconds, 44 seconds, 43 seconds, 42 seconds, 41 seconds, 40. So you might need to make some moves. You might need to make some moves for this book right here. So, Pop, you think that for this cap, you think it could go up to 18? Carrie says 10 to 13. So, Planet, you got to free up safely. You got to free up. I mean, this is the thing too. This is the thing, because again, it's with these books. with Golden Age, there's the, okay, here's the fair market price that it, based on comps and looking at recent sales and how rare and how frequent it goes up. Here's sort of the price that's kind of makes sense. And then there's the like, I don't care. I want this price. You know, someone may just want it and they'll bid to get it. You know what I mean? So, especially with books like this, which is why I think it's a very interesting one to keep our eyes on. Izzy Verse in the chat. Hey, Swaggle, what's up? What's going on, Izzy? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Cap 3, another big book right there. You can see Bobby Blue on the back cover. This is cool too, actually. I kind of like seeing some of these backs where, you know, in the a lot of the back covers have advertisements, but here you get a little bonus book. You know, Human Torch #3, bonus preview on the back, which is always kind of fun and kind of cool to see. All right, what else do we got right here? So this is now where we enter the Cap section. Obviously, got Cap #4, Cap #5, another kind of book that people kind of feel like is a key because this is the first Stan Lee comic book story. So first Stan Lee comic story in comics right here. And this one right here is a Jack Kirby and Sid Shores cover. So a very cool cover to me. But I like personally how Schomburg draws Captain America more than Kirby and Sid Shores does. There you can see the little Bobby Blue. But yeah, this is a cool book. And again, probably going to be competitive. Right now it's sitting at 2,000. I didn't check the comps for this one, but I imagine that this is going to be another book that people are going to go after. One of the cool things actually is, you know, this is Stan Lee's first comic book story. I think he had some other stuff where he did some text work, you know, back in the day with these comic books. Obviously they have the comic, they have the story and stuff. And then there's like text stories, which is like just what it sounds like. It's just a bunch of text, a short story in it. And I think Stan Lee had worked on some of that stuff. But this is one of those books where I feel like there's a few of these books that actually that are on the census as being signature series. And this is the one that was like, oh man, that was a smart one to get signed by Stan Lee. I feel like, you know, that one is definitely a smart signature series book to have. That'd be pretty special to have that one. So cool to see this one. I'm sure I don't have the numbers pulled up, and we got to talk about a bunch of other books, so I won't belabor that one. You got a Cap 8, 9, bunch of great ones here. You know, you got this Cap 13, which is a World War II or a Remember Pearl Harbor book. You got this Cap 16, which again, another cool Red Skull cover right here. This one, Al Avison cover and art. Pretty cool cover. Again, you got the bondage here. So it's one of those, all right, what are all the elements? You know, you got the bondage, you got the Red Skull on the cover, you got Cap punching him in the face. You don't have a bunch of Nazis on this one, but hey, maybe that's actually a good thing for a lot of people. But this will be another book that is fairly competitive for sure. But let me jump down here to some of these other caps that I kind of wanted to discuss. Once you start to get to like the 30s and stuff, all these cap books are great, but there's particular ones that really stand out. You know, really stand out more than others. It's like, this is where you start to look for like, okay, what are the things that people actually really dig? What are the things that people actually like? So all the things is like, okay, Alex Schomburg, that's like the first, right? Which covers are done by Schomburg? 2, which covers have cool, heroic action poses? 3, which covers have Captain America defeating Nazis or punching Nazis or foiling Nazis? 4, is there a damsel in distress bondage cover? And then 5, is there a shark on the cover? Because this one right here, Captain America Comics, number 26, the shark cover right here, another one that is highly desirable in the market. A lot of people love this one. Obviously has all the elements that I was talking about, and then the joke element here with the shark, which makes this kind of fun. But again, this is the one where it's like, you know, if I'm really being like an art critic and I'm zooming in and I'm analyzing how Cap is drawn, I just think Schomburg did it better. I just think that he always looked just better. His line work was better. His poses were better. And that's what makes so many of these books so desirable and competitive. You got this Cap Comics number. I didn't have it pulled up right here. But again, 4,000 right now. Don't have the numbers in front of me. I suppose I could pull it up. I was going to talk about Captain America Comics number 33 right here. Which I think is kind of maybe an underrated book for that reason. But this one right here, the shark cover, people really love this. And this is the other thing too. I think what's cool about a lot of this stuff is now you're in 1943. You can see it right here from the date. Now you're in 1943. I mean, this is mid-war, right? Like when you had Cap Comics number 1, which I think was what, 41? It's like America was not quite involved yet. And then once America got involved after Pearl Harbor, then you have here in 43 and 44, like this is like peak middle war, right? So that's what makes a lot of these books desirable also for that reason, is that it really is, you know, a sign of the times, has the cultural relevance, and is historic in that sense. You know, like Cap Comics number 1, Cap punching Hitler was more of like, okay, you know, more propaganda, you know, at that time. Here now you're really involved in the war. So all right, let's focus in on the shark cover. We got the 6.5 up for sale. Last few sales here. Now, shout out to Automatic Comics. He's always really good at this stuff. You know, he's got it down to a T, got it down to a science. If you saw my whiteboard video, I made jokes about him. You too could be Automatic Comics too. You just have to sit in your basement for hours on end and figure out point per grade or price per point situations here. But last 6.0 for this book went not too long ago. Here in June, sold for $6,000 for the Sharknado cover. This one already at $4,000. Has a little bit to go, but I'm sure it's going to get there. I would assume that this is going to be a book that finishes right around that same level. 6,000, 6,500. Could get a hair more because it's a 6.5. This one is interesting too. I mean, a 4.5 previous to that went for $6,000. Now, maybe a different time in the market because this was, you know, November of 2022, although November was kind of the low actually at that particular time. 3.5 went for 3,300, but it'll be interesting to see. I suspect that this will be a $6,000 book right there. Always a fun shark cover. What else did I have pulled up? I wanted to show you guys some of this stuff. Oh, here's a cool one here. This is one that I just think, again, has the elements, right? Has the elements. Schomburg cover. Cap looks great. You know, paratrooping down with Bucky. It's got the machine gun. Got the American Army behind them. So this is just sort of a great World War II action cover. And I think that this is kind of one that, you know, there's a bunch of, I would call them the keys of this section, but this one's maybe slightly behind those keys. So I could call this as sort of an underrated one or a little bit more under the radar, Cap 33, but another great buy. I mean, it's not cheap, you know, it's still going to finish around $3,000, $4,000, something like that, but beautiful 6.0. And this one right here, yeah, it doesn't have the body blue on it. A little tape pull right there, which hurts it, but almost that tape pull almost kind of blends in. You almost don't see it. So beautiful, beautiful book right there. Let me check back in with chat here. Yeah, the previous, this is one of the draws to desire out of people. You think Cap and Namor got their wings from the same store? You know, they look similar. They probably do shop at the same store. Totally. Namor went to the extra level, though, where he actually got them stitched into his ankles. Metal Bum in the house. Oh my, this is like a football game play-by-play, but for nerds. Let's go. Metal Bum, I don't know if you saw at the beginning, that's what I was talking about, where I was like, I want to full-on meme this. You know, I want to get the pregame show. I want to get the Madden board, you know, where I can like draw on the whiteboard and like point to, or I need to get one of those like touch screen, big screens. Actually, I actually really want to do that. I want to take my whiteboard videos to the next level and get a touch screen and do the stuff where like I zoom in on the book and then I draw the thing and I wipe and I go boom, boom, and I circle and then I unintentionally make a phallic symbol. All right, Pop says number 14's Remembering Pearl Harbor is also pretty significant historically. Yeah, number 14. I kind of glossed over that one, but there obviously those issues signify, okay, like this is the Pearl Harbor time. So there was a Remembering Pearl Harbor, and that was when we got into the war. So they are pretty significant, and you guys can actually see which one was one of that right there. Let me scroll back up. Yeah, it was this one right here, number 13, number 14. These two, I'll just show you guys really quick. The Remembering Pearl Harbor covers. Obviously, you got Captain America punching a Japanese soldier here. So, these were right at the time. So very, very significant historically. Here you have this little banner right here. That is, oh, no, excuse me. This is something different, but a Remembering Pearl Harbor issue right here as well. And this one kind of has some horror elements once again. But a lot of these books are really cool. And so that's kind of what makes them special, is depending on the time in which they came out, and then adding in all those extra elements makes them more or less desirable in the market. I want to show you guys one comparison that I think is super interesting. Oh yeah, here. So this one, let's pull up this one right here, and then let's talk about this one. So here you have, this one is a great one, a key book right here. You got Captain America going against and pulling out Hitler from the car. Anytime you can have the Hitler on the cover, especially if Captain America is punching him or choking him by the neck or whatever, this is always going to be a desired book, a desired key. Now, this is one where I'd point out, here, the cover, Al Bellman art. And I would say, while it's not bad art, it's actually pretty cool. There's definitely a lot of nice line work in here. It's like, again, to me, it's like it doesn't quite have the same refinement as Schomburg did. As Metal Bum says, Schomburg is king. But a very cool book because of the Hitler aspect as well. Did I have this one pulled up? Yeah, I did have this one pulled up. So what did we got here? This is a 6.5, currently sitting at 12,500. So I mean, guys, this all these Cap books alone. I mean, there's so many huge books in this. Shout out to Flip Mode. They're going to do so well, I think. They might be a little bit concerned right now based on where the prices are sitting, but I think that these books are going to get in fuego when the auction starts this week. But currently sitting at 12,000, 6.5. Last couple sales, what do we got here? Anything to compare to? We had a 5.0 go for 13,000. So 501 for 13,000 in January of 2022. So already we're definitely going to blow past this. I mean, buyer's premium alone, right? Yeah, 15. Buyer's premium alone is probably going to knock this above that. So I feel like this could be a fairly competitive book. Definitely be at the $13,000 range. So we'll have to keep our eye on this one. All right, this one right here. This is probably maybe one of the big keys that everybody talks about. I'd say that this is definitely a flex book when it comes to these mid-World War II Schomburg covers, middle of the war. Here you have Schomburg cover with Bucky and Captain America raining down on a bunch of Nazis. You got Bucky with the flamethrower right there. You got Cap, I mean, literally dropping a shell, a bomb on them. I mean, this is going to explode, and then Cap's going to block it with his shield. But I think Bucky's going to feel some debris out of this one. But a super badass cover. Again, Cap beating up a bunch of Nazis, Schomburg cover. This is definitely one of the books that is a big key for a lot of collectors of this time. So you can see 6.5 sitting at the $11,000 price point right now. Do we have any comps that we can kind of talk about? So 6.5 sitting at 11,000. You had the 7.0 sell not too long ago at the $20,000 price point in June. So I think it's fair for this book to start to knock on the door around that price point, but maybe it's not gonna. Let me get rid of some of these windows, guys. Sorry if I keep clicking around. Nice presenting 6.5. Doesn't have the Bobby Blue written on it. A little bit of, I don't know, maybe it's just the scan compared to this one. This one looks like really white, although this is cream to off-white, and that one is off-white. So this could get to 20,000 if somebody really wants it, and is being competitive here. I suspect. So 5.5 went for 9,600. 3.0 went for 13,200, guys. Wow. That's one where it's like somebody just wanted this. That seems like a fairly big jump. And as you can see right here, then the 3.5 went shortly thereafter for less at 10,000. And then the 3.0 went for a slash price of 12. And then the 3.0 went for a 9,600. So this 3.0, I don't know if it's the same 3.0, kept getting tossed around. No, it's a different one. It's got a chip up here. But the 3.0 kept going down in value. So this is where you can see, like, again, with some of these books, they can get pretty competitive if somebody really wants it. And then if somebody gets their hands on it, then that takes a buyer off the table for the next time around, if there is a next time around. Most of the time there's not a next time around because these books are that much more rare. But if there ends up being a next time around, it definitely hurts the potential sale. So you do have 2 of these books that went up just in June alone. So maybe it takes people out of the market, but this is one of the all-time great mid-war Schomburg covers. Now, I want to compare this one to this one right here. This is what I was talking about, where still a really awesome book, still super desirable. You go from cap 37 to cap 38. And by all accounts, this one is very similar. It's a Schomburg cover. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah. It's a Schomburg cover. I thought it was a Schomburg cover. Schomburg cover. Cap is jumping down, much like this one, jumping down. You got him with the shield. He's got the machine gun. You got the bondage cover, damsel in distress right here. But I think the thing that hurts this is it doesn't have the Nazi element. It's got the Japanese soldiers and stuff. So this is one that is not as desirable as the ones that have the Nazis on it. So that's something you got to always consider. Like, while these are very, very cool covers and very desirable in their own right, the Nazi ones are definitely always a step above that of the Japanese ones. But this one, you can see 6.5 already at 11,000, just the next issue. 7.5 only at 12. I'm sure this will still sell for whatever, 3, 4, 5 grand, whatever it ends up being. But the Nazi ones are way more desirable. All right, let me check in with some of the people here. What do we got here? A friend of mine really likes Bellman art. He met Bellman a few times at conventions, as Al only passed away a year or so ago. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, no disrespect to Bellman. I mean, all this art is fantastic. All these art are great. All these covers are awesome. It's just that, like, Schomburg, I'm just sucking up because I just think Schomburg is so good. Yeah, Middlebum, Al Bellman passed a year ago. Yeah, one of the OGs, one of the OGs. We got Cameron here. Cameron, what's going on, man? Hey, what's good? Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping in. All right, let's kind of moving along, guys, here on the previews of these books. See what else we can kind of talk about. Obviously, there's so many Captain America books that we can discuss, so I don't want to belabor them too much. But a lot of these books are great. And then you start to move out of World War II. You start to get to 1946 and 47 and 48, and we're not so much in war anymore. And it's really cool when you look at these covers, you can see, like, how when times change, they had to sort of change what they did with Cap. 1945, we're already kind of exiting the war, and now Captain America's got to be back on an Air Force base beating up a bunch of criminals. So they had to sort of shift and change, and that's why some of these covers aren't as desirable. Even though that one is still a very, very beautiful cover done by Schomburg, they're just not as desirable because they're not as historic. And then you start to get, like, Captain America fighting a bunch of bank robbers and stuff like that. Now that we're in 1946, you didn't need to fight Nazi soldiers anymore. So that to me is what's so cool about when you look back at these Golden Age covers and things like that. and a lot of this Americana pop culture. Like they are such reflections of the time, specifically the Captain America stuff, and it being related to World War II. And then you start to get this one right here, which is, this is not necessarily a key comic, but I think this one is pretty cool. It's not one that I personally would buy, but Captain America Comics number 73. Now you're in 1949. Now you're sort of at the turn of the decade. And now you're getting into like horror is getting really cool. Sci-fi is getting really cool. This is the time when you have like the Day the Earth Stood Still type of movies and Aliens and Roswell and like that whole push. So the comic industry was moving towards more interesting type of stuff or doing different stuff. And they started to put Captain America in these kind of horror vibes. And this cover is just, I don't know if it's awesome or if it's random, but it's creepy. And the outcast of time. I always think that's cool. The outcast of time, a man out of time became very, very synonymous with Captain America. So I always thought that this cover was kind of cool. And then we'll talk about a book later on when it turns to Weird Tales or Weird War Tales or whatever it is, when you got Red Skull on the cover and it's like truly like a PCH cover, which is a super amazing Grail book. And then Captain America would disappear after that. They took him out. They didn't need him in comics anymore. And then until they got to Avengers number 4, which is when they brought him back into the Silver Age, and the rest is history. All right, coming up next here. Yeah, we're jumping out of time. We're going past Captain America, and now we're going into Chamber of Chills, number 19, 1953 right here. Lee Elias cover. Is this the best comic cover of all time? What do you guys think? Is this the best comic cover of all time? Well, that Chamber of Chills is mega, my favorite PCH cover. It's hard to say if it's the best cover of all time, but this is one that I feel like it's just so classy. You could have this. There's a lot of PCH covers that I always joke about with Drew and Ryan, where it's like, I get it. I get why people think it's cool. Like it's definitely over the top, but it's like exploding faces. Do I really want this, in the middle of my game room? Probably not. But this one right here, Chamber 19. I mean, look at how classy that is. That is so classy. I love this book. This is definitely one that I would want. It's not on the list yet, but eventually I'll make a move to pick this one up. But you got a 7.5 right here, a beautiful one. Again, another one that doesn't have the Bobby Blue written on it, unless it's like disappeared in the black up here. That's always a possibility. But a Bobby Blue collection one, 7.5. Really nice grade. Really nice presenting book. And one that currently sits at 20,000. Let's take a look in here and see if we can kind of make some guesstimates of where this might go. A 3.5 at the $9,000 price point in February of this year. Decent 3.5. Maybe it's pretty friendly 3.5. I feel like if this was a Silver Age book, they would have given this one a 2.5. This definitely got the golden age bump, as I like to call it. All right, so you have an 8.0 that went for 37,000. Now that's a really nice looking 8.0, to be honest. I mean, old label, file copy. Old label, file copy. I mean, press and clean candidate. Although maybe you don't want to get rid of the file copy distinction. But that 8.0 went for 37,200. Previous 8.5 went for 52,800, and then the 9.2 went for 72,000, compared to the 9.2 that went for 50,000 a year earlier, and the 8.5 that went for 25,000 a little bit before this 8.5. So this is an interesting one. And what's interesting about some of these golden age books is what happens is they get repriced. And then when they get repriced, they come onto market quite a lot. So this one right here, 121 universal copies, 28 total graded. So again, rare, not the absolute most rarest book ever, but like rare. But what happens is like you saw flurry. I mean, look at how many times this went up for sale in 2022. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sales in 2022 alone. And then if you go back to 2021, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 2020, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2019, 1, 2, 3. 2018, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, maybe not. I thought I was going to talk about how what happens is when one goes on sale and then somebody realizes, oh my God, my Chamber of Chills is worth that. Then all of a sudden you are incentivized to sell your book. And then somebody says, what? My Chamber of Chills is worth that? And then they're incentivized to sell their book and so on and so forth. And so you have a flurry of sales sometimes with these like golden age books that things get repriced in the market. And then you have the calm period where people then are now holders. So it's like the hands have turned, or the collector hands have turned, and then there's a waiting period. But actually, it seems like this one, while this was a lot in 2022, maybe not unprecedented for the last handful. But again, this book right now, currently sitting at 20, 8.0 went up to 37. I mean, there's a big window of what this could sell in. And this is another just I want it book. You know, let's see if anyone has anything to say. One of the most identifiable, even to those that don't collect these. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that's to me where what stands out so much about this book is, one, it was the Misfits cover album, so that really made it infamous. And then two, it's just one that, again, people homage this one all the time. It's art that's been used on prints and posters and things, so people kind of recognize it in general. I was thinking I've seen a bunch of those Chamber of Chills 19s for sale recently, also almost like the Superman ones. Yeah, Planet, that's another one too with the Superman ones. I don't know what it is. I just feel like every single auction, Superman 1 comes up for sale, which doesn't feel like that's what it should be. But in this auction as well, you have a Superman 1 coming up for sale. And I do think that in the last couple of years, there has been a lot of turnover with some of those books. Batman #1 is another one that's like, God, like how many Batman ones are there? Like people just keep selling them. And I think what happens is, again, if dealers buy the books, then they're still technically for sale. And the reality is a lot of dealers do buy a lot of these auctions, and the big ones as well. You know, it's really until you get the book in the hands of a holder, a collector, or whoever, where now that book is really off the market. And I think, you know, with the flurry, 2021, all that stuff, a lot of these books were being bought up by dealers. So now dealers have to kind of reevaluate and try to resell and all this. So you have this kind of weird turnover phase. I imagine that there will be a time in a couple of years where some of these books will start to slow down, like Superman ones and Batman ones, because eventually they're going to find their way in the hands of collectors or holders. But this is one, Chamber of Chills 19, that feels like it had a lot of turnover recently. I don't know, guys. 25,000 could be for this book. Maybe 30 if somebody really wants it. You know, the 8.5 went for 25,000 in early 2022, but I think the 7.5, someone's going to want it. I actually met a few people that are legitimately bidding on this book. Like I met people that are like, oh, I'm 100% going to bid on this book. On top of that, Flip Mode, Jamie, the guys who found this Bobby Blue collection, which if you're just joining us, you don't know, I did an interview with them. Link is in the description if you want to hear the story about the Bobby Blue collection. Jamie actually wants this book as well. One of the dealers that got it. And if you heard my interview with them, they talk about where it's like, whenever they find books, they have to buy their own books. And that makes sense as a business. Like you can't just say like, oh, I'm just going to keep this. It's like, no, they're a team. Everything is for sale. So with some of these books, like they have to literally bid on their own book. So kind of funny thing that he might actually bid on his own book if he's in the market for that. Although I have to assume that he's not going to want to bid on this. Yeah, I assume he's going to pass. Como says, Chamber Chills 19 is the Hulk 181 of PCH. Everyone wants one. There are a lot of copies out there, but people have them stacked. Yeah, that's a good point, huh? It does feel like people have, there's a, what is her name? Anna. Shout out to Anna Collects on Instagram. There's some collectors out there, guys, that's like, dude, they have the craziest flex pictures. I'm pretty sure she has like a photo with her and she's got like 10 copies of Chamber 19. I mean, she's got like 10 copies of everything, but there are a lot of books out there. There are definitely a lot of books out there. But again, everyone wants this book. You're right. It's like the Hulk 181. As far as PCH books are concerned, I feel like there's no PCH books that is as visibly recognizable as this one. I mean, maybe there are. I mean, I'm sure you can make arguments for that, but pretty high demand, which is something that you want. It feels like this is of these books, this could be a very liquid one. Carrie says, it is strange that Soup's one and others coming to auction often, but I still don't see a lot of Detective 27 just saying, yeah, I never see Detective 27 truly feels rare. Almost more rare than Action 1. I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe this is anecdotal. I don't know if this is actually true, but I feel like Detective 27 sells less than Action 1, at least in these last few years. But again, Detective 27, Action 1, different level than Soup 1, Batman 1. Because ones are the first appearance, the others are first title. Everyone wants Chamber 19. Everyone. Read in a Gary Oldman voice. How does he do it? Never. I can only think of Gary Oldman playing Commissioner Gordon. Covering Gotham in all this poison. I always quote that line with my friend. Rail. Proud new owner of Chamber 19 in a 2.5 private sale, but figuring tax and fees elsewhere, I think I did well. Closely watching these upcoming auctions. Hey, congratulations. That's a huge, huge pickup. I feel like private sale is probably the way to go. Hopefully you got a good deal. I'm sure you did well. I mean, look, I think if you feel like you got a good deal and you got the book in hand, I think you probably got a good deal. You know what I mean? Like just having the book is great. And I'm sure you got a good deal. Most I've seen was a guy with 19 copies 3 years ago. I might be a guy with 19 Avengers 8s. I might be that guy. I don't know why. I keep buying that book. I was going to make a joke about it. I was like, who are these people that just collect the same book? And then I realized, shout out to Ozzy. I'm like, we're the idiots that keep buying Avengers number 8. And Dark Hawk 1s. I would pay for a tour of Love Anna's collection. Yeah, actually, I've been meaning to. I wanted to do a Swaggle cast episode with her. Talking about the podcast. I actually wanted to talk to her about her collection. She's one of like the craziest. I mean, she has to have one of the craziest collections, at least publicly. I'm sure people have insane collections, but publicly, as far as people I know, hers seems to be up there. Anna Love Share definitely flexes with this book. Yeah, she definitely flexes. Batman guys love Batman, and that's their grail. Action 1 guys love money and to flex it. Yeah, ooh, that's a good point, Drew. That's a good point. That people who collect Tech 27 actually collect it. People who get Action 1 are investors. Ooh, spicy. What do you guys think about that? Eden says, give me an A15 3.0 over that chamber. AF-1530 over that chamber. Well, yeah, I mean, value-wise, I think an AF-1530 would be more, right? 1.5s and 1.0s are what, like 15? What's a 3.0? 30? 20? 5? Maybe they're comparable. Eggplant says, I don't get the point of that at all. Oh, collecting a bunch of the same books. Philly says, I agree. Superman is no one's favorite. Oh, poor Soups, man. I genuinely like Superman. I like. Some people make fun of me. They think that like I don't like DC comics. I love DC comics, but I genuinely like Superman, and I can't wait to get Boy Scout Superman. Yeah, Captain America is one of my favorite characters. Thus, I also love Superman because he's so honorable. Derek says, the real question is, how much would a CG Seed number 27 piece of Tech 27 cover sell for? The Action One piece, what did it sell for? Like $8,000? If you guys don't know what Derek is talking about, there was an Action One piece of the cover, not cover, not page, piece, like this big piece of the Action One cover in a CGC slab that sold for like $8,000 or something stupid like that. What would the Tech 27? I don't know. But I feel like Batman fans better shill bid that piece. They better shill bid it. Can't be letting Action One flex on them. I think you should bid. Show us the big baller you are. Greg, you want me to bid on this right now? You want me to bid on this right now? No, I'm not gonna bid on this, guys. I'm not gonna bid on this. I mean, like, here's the thing. I could just bid on it right now. If I really want it, I feel like I just got a steal. That would be a great deal for this book. I could literally take if it passed right now at that number, I literally could post it on eBay and probably sell it for a few grand more. So it wouldn't be the end of the world. But if you saw Golden Age Guru, shout out to Jeff on his Instagram. Last time there was a Tech 27 that was up for sale. He did do a bid where he put in $1 million bid, but it was like clearly it's like the auto bid is going to outbid him. But it was, for the clout, for the Instagram clout, he did it. More balls than me. Superman isn't even Ma Kent's favorites. Damn, man. That's harsh. Ozzy says, Batman greater than Superman. I mean, he's more popular than Superman. It's true. Pre-code horror will be in demand. That book, it's a blue chip as they come. Illuminati Comics says, yeah, I agree with you. DC has the best ground level heroes. Outside of Batman, who else is ground level? Peacemaker? Vigilante? Booster Gold? You think they have better ground level heroes than Spider-Man and Daredevil? And Punisher? Best villains? I feel like Marvel's got DC beat on villains. Yeah, Green Arrow. But Marvel's got Hawkeye, baby. Oh, Jimmy Olsen. You're right. Jimmy Olsen. That's true. It's true. Jimmy Olsen for sure takes it. All right, guys. Let's get back into it. Let's talk about more books here. What else is going in the middle? Oh, we got this next one here. From one PCH Grail to the next. Crime Suspense 22. The decapitation cover. The Gaines hearing cover. 6.5. This is another one, guys, that feels like has gone up for sale a lot in the last 2 years. But one of the things with this, similarly, or not similarly, this is definitely one of the higher census pre-code horror books. I think there is. Universal copies, 369. 408 total graded. And since the last time I talked about this book, since the last time we did it, I mean, shout out to Drew. We did that PCH collab video, right? Last Halloween. And this was one of the books that we talked about in that Johnny Crate cover. And I'm pretty sure, just off top, this number was lower last year. I don't remember seeing 400. So this is one that continues to be slabbed. I feel like if you have this book, even in the raw, I feel like this is probably one you send in for grading, which is maybe why the census is so high. You know, it's not like other pre-code horror books or EC books can't have 408 on the census. I mean, they're out there, but like this is just one that is more popular to slab. But higher census. All right, so we got this 8.5, $12,500. Let's take a look at some of the last couple sales. This is one that just continues to just build up. Each sale improving on the last one. Okay, so last 6.0 went for 10,800. 5.0 went for 8,700. 5.5 went for 12,000. So you had this jump from the 8.0 to a 12,000 and a 5.5. And we're dealing with a 6.5 here. That's already at 12.5. So this could be one that just maybe just ends this way. I mean, you got to factor in the 15% buyer's premium. So it's fair market value. What's going to be registered? Come on, guys. I can't do math. 15% of 12,000. You know, it's going to be another $1,500, 16, 17. So it's going to be a $14,000 finish currently right now, at the very least, if no other bids come in. So I think this one is going to continue to be hot. I think this is going to be another big sale. What else? Do we have any other comparables here? No, not really. Got to go all the way back to 2022, 4.5, a 9.0. It's kind of hard with this mid-grade, 6.5. One of the EC cover jokes that people always talk about is that you either have reader copies or you have file copies. Because that's what always ended up happening. It's like either kids threw them away or they all got burned, or you had Gaines file copies. So when you get a number that's like a 6.5, it's kind of a interesting world to exist in for this book. Yeah, I think that this is going to be definitely 14,000. Could be more. I don't know. But another huge book right here. One thing that's cool about this is there's a great YouTube video that talks about the history of EC and the Senate hearings and all that stuff. And it mentions this cover. And Gaines was talking to the hearing judge about this. And apparently the story went like, the hearing judge pulled up the cover and they were talking about like if this was appropriate for kids. And he said something to the effect of like the senator was like, oh, you think that this book is appropriate to sell to kids? And he held it up and he said, yeah, because it's tastefully done. The head is not actually shown as being decapitated. And I kind of get it. It is tasteful in a way. I mean, we don't know that her head got cut off. You don't know that. This could be another person. laying right here. And then her neckline is still intact. We don't know. She could just be drooling. Look, maybe he was butchering some tasty octopus. You know, it's a little side of squid ink on there, which is why there's black on the axe. And she's looking at this plate and she's just drooling. She's just really salivating over this very scrumptious thing that he put together for her. We don't know that. So it's very tastily done. There's another PCH book that I can't remember the name of it. It's a crime book, and it's got the guy, and there's like a manhole cover. It's like the sewer, and it's a similar thing. He's holding the head of this woman, but there you actually see like the head decapitated. Here it's right on the edge, so you know it's totally fair. So it was just funny that it's like, yeah, it's true. It is tasteful. Yeah, Drew says mid-grade EC is fire. A comic says another very identifiable book. I see it come up quite often in sales though. Yeah, this was one I think was maybe Ryan did a conversation about this one. Was there a Promise Collection copy that went up for sale at end of 2021, and then that started like kind of the chain of events that it's that roller coaster what I was talking about, where once one book comes on the market, it reprices the market, and then like everyone says like, what, it's worth that now? Oh my God. And then they are incentivized to sell their copies. And then it just becomes this machine, right? Where it's like everyone is incentivized to sell, especially if you're somebody who had not that much into it. Like maybe you're somebody who bought this in like 2014 for a few $100s, and now you can sell it for $5,000. Then you're incentivized to sell, you know? So you have to keep, they keep coming up, they keep selling, they keep selling, and keep selling. And then you have to eventually wait until like just the collector holders are the ones that have the book. And then the tide can stop for a while, for a few years, until the next 10-year cycle when the next big sale happens. And then that causes people to sell once again. For a crime comic. Gaines made Craig redo it because originally we did know it was gone. Was that true? I didn't know that. I didn't know that he made him redo it. Fight Against Crime, Horror and Suspense, Manhole Decap. Yeah, that's the one, right? That's the one. Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about. I'm surprised Bobby's mom did not burn this one. Yeah, Bobby's mom was not, she was not one of the Karens back in the day. She had the opposite thing. Not only did she not burn his comic, she wrote his name on it. Even this one right here. Yeah, that's a good one. Bobby's mom is a saint. Bobby's mom is definitely a saint. I'm looking at a 5.0 right now. Her head is definitely off her head. We don't know that, Illuminati. We don't know. It's not like you guys have actually read the story that actually could tell us. Yeah, you could originally see the stump of her neck. Skull and crossbones. Okay, guys. Bobby's mom thought it was still appropriate. But another huge book coming up for sale. Very, very cool to see that one. All right, we still have a lot of other books to cover. I feel like we haven't even talked about some of the biggest books. I don't want to spend too much time on this one, but this one is very, very cool to see. Crypt of Terror 17. First issue, the turnover from Crime Patrol. This is when like the EC covers started to have their own sort of horror thing. Again, horror was getting hot. So crime was like, it's the decades, right? It's like World War II. And then like they had to fill it with a little bit of crime, where you had Captain America stopping bank robbers, and then horror got hot and sci-fi. And so like you had the turn of the cultural times here. And this one right here, Crime Patrol turning into Crypt of Terror. But then they would change this to Tales from the Crypt, which I don't know if Drew has, once again, insider info of why didn't they run with Crypt of Terror as a title? Why did they switch it to Tales from the Crypt? That's one of those, this is very inside baseball, guys. Maybe you guys have this in the professions you work in, but it's like you really obnoxious in like the creative field when it's like, you come up with this thing. You're like, all right, here's my creative idea. It's going to be Crypt of Terror. And then your boss comes in and he goes, no. Tales from the Crypt. And he just switches it on you, and you're like, and then it's like, and then he walks out the room, and he gets his massive payout for that. It's like, why didn't I think of that? Tales from the Crypt was so much better than Crypt of Terror. Damn it. My favorite Crypt book. Love that Craig Werewolf cover. They were going to bring it back. The cover to Tales from the Crypt 46 was marketed as Crypt of Fear 1. I'm sure it was just a marketing change. Yeah. Some bigwig came in and just said, guys, this will be better. They always got to put their own stamp on things, you know? They always got to make it about themselves. This other book right here, Dynamic Comics #8. This is another one, very, very rare. These Dynamic Comics ones. This is a series of has some really cool covers in this one. Just very creepy. Another sort of brains exposed right here. This is, again, is another book that for me, I get it. I get why people like it. You know, I get why it's cool. Gus Rika cover. Gus Rika has some really cool books as well. The Punch Comics one, we'll talk about that. But wait, that was Gus Rika, right? Maybe I'm tripping. Anyways, 16,500. This is going to be a big one. I'm glad that I'm not super into this one because it's really expensive. But another cool book, again, from the Bobby Blue one. Haunted Thrills. A lot of people like these Haunted Thrill ones. Again, it's kind of what I was saying, where it's like, yeah, they're cool, but I'm happy that I'm not somebody who needs it. Here's another cool one, Jackpot #4, first Archie cover. Right there. There you see it. Archie in the little kind of EC bubble thing. There you see the Bobby Blue. Another book I'm sure it's going to sell for a lot. Got the Archie collectors that are very, very excited. We're going to talk about Pep in a second. Let's talk about this one really quickly. Journey into Mystery #1. First Journey into Mystery series, but a double cover. First cover 7.0, interior cover 7.5. This is one that I showed in my interview. This is cool to see. Double cover. Currently at 9,700. This is one of those, like, impossible to know what this is going to sell for because of the double cover factor. I can't imagine it's like so much more. Like, how many people out there is it like Journey into Mystery #1 was their book? Like, this is my book. And now that there's the double cover, I have to have it. I mean, maybe there's people out there that are like that, but it's not like it's like a Darkhawk 1 double cover. You know, Darkhawk 1 double cover, that is something to be desired. When I used to live next door to Willie Nelson, he would have a bunch of these comic books. Really? There you go. Celebrity comic book collectors. Terror of Crypt, suspense, creepy horror creep show. It was a bit long-winded. It's true. Eli coming in with the Blue Beetle, 10 out of 10. I'm assuming that's for the movie. Yeah, this gym is going to be fun to watch. Yeah, definitely going to be fun. Previous sale for the Journey one, I didn't pull it up. What do we see here? This is definitely a book that you don't see too often either. Very, very rare, this stuff. I mean, the Atlas horror stuff is really interesting. People have been talking about Atlas horror for being underrated. There's some really great Atlas books that are underrated. And this was definitely a really cool cover. Russ Heath, I feel like, is pretty underappreciated as far as like a PCH cover artist. I think Russ Heath has some banger PCH covers. That would be a guy that maybe Drew, when we do our next PCH series. Underrated EC artists, I think Russ could go in that category. All right, we got a 1.8 at 42. This is in the 7.5 range. A 701 for 13,750. So I feel like this is probably the benchmark to determine, like, okay, 13,000 for the 7.0, currently at 97. It's a 0.5 higher and it's a double cover. What is the bump that we can factor in for this? Is it going to be a 10% bump, a 20% bump, 30%, 50%? In the double covers, in, say, like Copper Age books, it tended to be that the double covers will get you 2x, maybe 3x, depending on the book. I don't see that happening with this. I don't imagine this book is going to sell for 26 grand. But it could. But I can't imagine that. I have to think there's going to be maybe like a 20% bump. So 13,000, maybe it goes to 15, 16. I think that would be a good, fair number for this to hit. But I could be surprised. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm really wrong. I get why Golden Age keys go for a lot, but it seems like all Golden Age books are keys now and are too overpriced. Well, I wouldn't say that all Golden Age books are keys. There's a lot of block. There's a lot of Golden Age books that are not desirable, that are not keys, and don't sell that often. Even like the jungle books, the jungle genre of books, they're not that expensive. They're not that popular. And they have a lot of elements that you would think would be desirable. A lot of hot girls on the cover and things like that, and a lot of bondage stuff, but they're not that popular. And really they're priced what the market dictates. The reason why they're so valuable is because they're so rare. And it doesn't take that many people. If you have 100 books on the census and you have 101 people who want it, then that's all you need. Now, if Hulk 181 had a PCH or a Golden Age census, Hulk 181 would be as expensive as Superman #1 and Batman #1. Because I think Wolverine is almost as popular as Superman and Batman. So it really has most to do with the census. For your information, those Tales of Terror Annual 1 and 2 didn't last the rest of SCCC. Are you saying that you bought them? The Terror Annual 1? If you did, that's huge. Congratulations. That's a big book. I've seen Journey into Mystery 1 maybe twice in real life. It's pretty rare bird. Yeah, I think I've maybe seen it once as well. Most of the times that I see like some of these really rare books are, when I go to San Diego Comic-Con or WonderCon and things like that, you always just go to the Heritage booth or the Comic Connect booth and they have these books there. But you're right. Jim 1, I don't see this one that often. I mean, what is the census for this one? It didn't, I don't think it's, so 91, 107. So slightly on the rare side, but hard to find this one for sure. Russ lived a fascinating life. Did he? I don't know too much about him, but I'll have to look into that. Don Heck would be in the running too. Yeah, Don Heck for sure. There's 115 in the chat. Smash that like button, everyone. Thank you, Ozzy. I appreciate that. I always forget to say hit the like button, but I would appreciate it if you guys did it. Oh, wow, that journey could go crazy. Yeah, absolutely. I remember selling a double cover of Silver Age X-Men. Romance books are cheap. Funny Animals too. Yeah, romance books are cheap. Romance books are heating up though. Feels like more people are looking at them. And Funny Animals books is one that I'd love to do some videos about Funny Animals books because I personally would like to get some. Like a Crazy Comics #1. Do you guys know about Crazy Comics #1? Like those types of books. I feel like those are like the what do you call it? The inspiration for Itchy and Scratchy. Is that kind of era. All right, what else we got here? Journey 1. All right, we got to jump ahead here. Obviously, a lot of other cool stuff. Marvel Mystery Comics #1. Great books. This is one of the big keys right here, or just the beautiful covers that people like. Another Schomburg cover, number 13, just coming in there with the Bank Vault. This is also the first Vision, Golden Age Vision. So kind of interesting. Question for the audience: is this Vision actually connected to Vision, or is it a kind of like how this is the Jim Hammond Human Torch, and then we have the Johnny Blaze Human Torch? This is not Well, I know that it's not connected to Vision because Ultron didn't make this Vision, but kind of an interesting thing that there's the Golden Age Vision, which not a lot of people realize. But kind of a key book right there. But let's jump ahead to this right here. Mask number 1. Another monster book right here. Mask number 1, LB Cole cover. Now I'm going to say something that might be triggering to the audience right now. I've seen this book in person. Very, very cool book. Beautiful cover. LB Cole, one of the greats. I might be wrong about this, but I'm not a huge LB Cole guy. He's not my favorite. I get it. Game recognized game. Beautiful work. I mean, look at the line work on this book. But I don't love the color palette that he uses for a lot of his stuff. All the primary colors together. It's just not my favorite. And it helps my wallet that I don't feel the desire to buy mask number 1. Because as you guys can see, $22,000 right now, currently sitting at this 7.5. Now this one is interesting because here you have the Bobby Blue written on the M in the mask. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think the writing bothers you? Or does this writing make it okay because it's got it on the label? So it's like the Bobby Blue collection. Does the writing help the book, hurt the book in this situation? This could hurt the value of this one, but this is one that people really love. Now again, shout out to Chris right here. I'm triggered. My bad. Mask 2 greater than mask number 1. Wow. Shots fired. I mean, for a guy who only had an 8 of Crayola to color, he did okay. It's true. Plants got to run. Thanks, man. Thanks for hopping in. Appreciate you. No Coast Comics in the house. Hey, what's going on, No Coast? Good to see you. Shout out to No Coast. If you guys don't know, go check out No Coast's graded comic travel case. Makes a nice product. I think Como had a video talking about it. Go check it out. If you guys are at comic book shows, I used his case when I went to Terrificon and San Diego Comic-Con. Nice little graded comic case that you can have in your backpack. Mask. This is far more graphic in design. So there, let's see. Carrie says, Mask. This is far more graphic in design. So there are a lot of people who dig it. Also, the writing doesn't bother me. Psychedelic Spectrum, way ahead of his time. I'll grant you that. This is definitely like a, trippy cover. I get why people dig it. The writing is fine, Reef, you say? I can't buy a book if it has writing on the cover. Yeah, some people really don't like it. Pop says, I agree about LB Cole. He was no Graham Ingalls, but I kind of love those garish colors. Yeah, it's kind of a hit and miss, maybe an acquired taste, or maybe I just have bad taste and I just don't get it. But no, I get it. They're definitely not my favorite, but obviously a lot of cool stuff. I run listening to your videos. Oh, Illumina. Oh, okay. Yeah. Pressing it. I didn't realize that, John, it was you there. Pressing and grading books as we speak helps pass the time. Yeah. Well, that's the idea. Thanks again for joining me on Sunday, guys. Appreciate you all. Maybe you're doing some chores, maybe you're banging the boards of books, or maybe you're pressing some books. But I thought it'd be cool to do a little preview of this collection. Interesting to see how everything goes. A shout out to David. What's going on, David? We've got to reach out to you soon. If you guys don't know David Ruggieri, met him in St. Louis, incredible artist. I passed on a Submariner yesterday at the Como Comic Book Fair because it had writing on the cover, personal preference. Yeah, that is something that is interesting. We will have to see if the Bobby Blue stuff hurts because of writing. I wonder if it's more of a dangerous thing for the high grade stuff. I feel like if it's writing on low grade, it's like, okay, whatever, right? But like when you have a book like this, it's like a 7.5 and it presents really beautiful. And then you have this thing that is very, very clearly apparent there. Does that hurt it? Sold some books. Chris says, I wonder if his publisher editor liked this cover when he delivered it. I wonder if this book was just, yeah, like maybe they were just like, what am I looking at? You know what I mean? Like this guy was doing like some acid back then, or was on some trips, you know, it was like way ahead. Mass book seems like a taboo book, like some occult shit. Yeah, could be. I passed on that early demo because it had writing on it. It was high grade other than that. I take writing or a stamp over a stain and tear. It's interesting. Tear doesn't bother me much. I too would take writing or a stamp definitely over a stain. I actually like date stamps. I'm one of those people that likes date stamps. Yeah, very interesting here. So let's check in here. Mass number 1, only 67 universal copies. Yeah, it's definitely really rare to find this one. 8.5 is the highest on the census. 8.5. You always got to wonder, like, oh man, what happens if somebody finds something higher than an 8.5? Last 8.5 sale was earlier this year in April, $144,000. The Promise Collection. There you see that's the pedigree label if you guys don't know about it. The Promise Collection. Little quick history. I'm sure I'll butcher the story. Promise Collection. It was 2 brothers. Names I don't remember, so forgive me. One of them went to war, World War II, loved his comic books, was a big collector, asked his brother to watch his comic book collection when he went to war for him. His brother did. He made sure that he took care of his books as best as he could. The brother, unfortunately, died during the war when he went overseas. And so his brother made sure that all his books were taken care of. So when this was discovered, it became the Promise Collection, as in promise, I promise to take care of your books for you. And some of these were some of the most high grade on the census. So this one right here, Mass Comics number 1, the Promise Collection book, the highest grade, went for $144,000. I don't think our 7.5 is going to go for that. We've seen a lot of mid-ish low grades go for sale. Last time a book this high went up was kind of a while ago. I mean, you guys can see, you know, a 5.5 went for $24,000 in 2019. There really isn't that many books that are this high grade for Mask number 1. A 6.0 went for $13,000 in 2019. So again, it's going to be a hard comparable here. Obviously, it's not going to get 144. A 3.0 went for 13. So you got to do the metrics here. Could this be a $50,000 book? Probably. It's currently at 22. Might be competitive, but again, it has got the writing on the cover. This is a really hard one to predict. This is going to be a hard one to figure out what it's actually going to sell for. Because as you guys can see, there's 185. It was the Promise Collection book. There's 180, and then there's 175. And that's where we're at right here. So this is the 3rd highest graded copy on the census. 3rd highest graded copy. So it's pretty crazy. What do you guys think? Drew says Mask 2 is a better cover than Mask 1. This is pretty, actually, I like this one more than 1 too. This is, I'm not a big LB Cole fan, but this is pretty out there. This is one that Bobby Blue's mom would not let him keep, for sure. This is some devil worship. That's some devil worship. No way is this appropriate for kids. But also very, very rare. Only 43 on the census for that book. But I don't know. Currently, where this book is at 22, guys, like I feel like this should be a lot more expensive. I feel like this should be 50. Seems like it would be a little disappointing if it didn't get up to at least 50. That would be my guess. The Promise Collection was 144 at an 8.5, and this is the third highest grade on the census. 50 seems like it should be that for sure. Carrie says Mass 2 is better. Drew with the hearts. Reef says Mass 2 is crazier cover. Chris says Mass 2 is bad shit. Dude, Mass 2 is definitely really crazy. I have a feeling Mass 1 will finish over 50K at minimum. Yeah, I suspect that too. You know, again, with a lot of these auctions, there's still 4 days. 4 days till this happens. Most people don't pre-bid. Like if you're serious about buying a book like this, or you're watching an auction, don't pre-bid. I mean, pre-bid if you know you're not going to be able to watch it, right? It's like, okay, I'm not going to be able to make 824 at 5:35 p.m. Then yeah, pre-bid and put your max bid and hopefully you get it. But you don't want to elevate the number. You don't want to create any extra interest or desperation or make people think, oh man, this book's really competitive, because that's going to push up the price. So I think that there's a lot of people watching this one. A lot of people thinking, oh, maybe I can sneak this one under the radar. It's only 22,000. I can get it for 30. But I think it's going to be very competitive once the auction starts. All right. Moving on here. Other cool books. Another one, Mr. Mystery, number 12. Another kind of crazy cover that people love. This is going to be a big boy book. We don't need to belabor this one. Kind of want to jump ahead. You know, we've talked a bunch of PCH books. Other cool ones in here, obviously some mystics, some mysterious adventures, things like that. But you know, a lot of other Atlas horror stuff, Mystic Comics, you know, first Stanley superhero that he created right here. Some other cool books, but obviously the big boy book that we also got to talk about right here is Pep. Pep Comics, number 22, first appearance of Archie and Betty. 1941, first appearance of Archie and Betty. You know, this is a Bobby Blue collection, but I'm seeing a different name here. What does it say? Franklin Helling? Kelling? Nelling? Franklin Nelling? Pep Comics number 22, first appearance of Archie. Again, we've been talking about Archie. I'm glad I'm not really a fan of Archie. Some of these books are so expensive. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. But I get it, but I don't get it. I mean, also too, do you guys know? Here's a little trivia for the day. Who are the 3 heroes on this cover? You know, you got a bunch of superhero jabronis over here on this Pep Comics book. You know, guys that didn't were not in the all-stars of superheroes at this time. But this is going to be a big one. This is definitely going to be a big one. As you guys can see, 3.0 already sitting at 37,000. Only 20 universal copies on the census. Only 20. So rare. 34 total. 8.5 is the highest. So again, while I don't get it, and while there doesn't need to be a lot of Archie collectors, it's not going to need a lot. This is a super tough one to find. Super tough. So here you have a 3.0 that went in 2021. Cover reattached with 3 pieces of tape, moderate amount of tape on the interior cover. That was in a CBCS case. So as we know, CBCS case obviously makes the book 1,000% less valuable. So this one went for 66,000. So doing the CBCS CGC comparison, this CGC book should be $1 million. I'm just kidding. 66,000 last sale. I feel like at 37 right now, this could definitely be a $70,000 book. I think that that's probably what this might flirt with. Here in 2019, you had a 5.0 in an old CBS case go for 89,000 or 85,000, excuse me. You had a 5.0 go for 91,000 the year before in 2018. 8.0 for 252. So this 3.0 right here, I think the $70,000 range is very fair to say that it's going to be in there. And then it just becomes a matter of who wants it, right? Like who wants it after that? How competitive do those people want it? How badly do they want it? Can that push it up to the $80,000 price point? You know, that'll be the question at that point. Ree says, damn, 37K. Yeah. I mean, it's going to go up to 80 or it's going to go up to 70. I would guess. Terry says, don't get the Archie thing myself. Yeah. You know, there's just a lot. I mean, Archie's historic. And I get it, but you know, I'm just glad that I'm not an Archie guy. What do you think the future holds for non-key Archies from the 40s and 50s? I mean, I'm not an expert, but again, there has to be some cultural touch point in order for people to appreciate the books, right? Like if they fall out of favor, there's a lot of characters from the golden age that are no longer in that much favor. Like I think of like Mighty Mouse. You know, we were talking about the Looney Tunes characters or the animated characters and things like that. Mighty Mouse is not a popular character anymore. What's the value of his comics? You know, Richie Rich still has some desire, but that one's a tough one. A lot of these pop cultural properties, they kind of come and go. They age out with certain people. Now, there is the history aspect. There's like the Americana aspect. So I think that there's maybe something important in that, even if Archie is not like relevant to the culture. I think that there is something to say about like Archie's significance that makes his comic books always important. And I think as long as that history is passed on to younger people and they recognize that it's important, then they'll still value it. But that's the thing. A lot of people don't know that. Certainly, like, you know, Gen Z doesn't know that Archie came from Pep Comics. They barely know Archie. They barely know comic books. So I think there's going to be some desire, but the non-keys, like you say, it's tough. It's tough. A lot of those Archie books take a long time to sell. They just sit on eBay. You know, the innuendo covers are always very desirable. The ones that feature Betty or Veronica, hashtag Team Veronica, looking cute or whatever, are always very desirable. But the non-keys, those ones are tough. Those ones seem tough. Pep 22, guys. Could be a big one for sure. All right, let's go forward here. Some other cool peps, some shock suspense. Obviously, this is always a very popular book. Here you have another LB Cole, Starling Terror. Another one that, again, like, this is one, like, it's not for me. It's not for me. I think LB Cole was definitely a recreational user. That's for sure. Some trippy stuff. I mean, like, this is definitely like one of those books where it's like, yeah, I get it. But again, I personally would not need to get this book. But if you like your Skull crazy covers, I mean, this is definitely up there. And this is going to be a big one. $10,000, currently at the 6.5. Another LB Cole good one. Not too many on the cents for this one. $10,000 sale at the 4.0. 6.5 one for 15.6. So I think that's a pretty good benchmark. I suspect that this one could definitely be around the $15,000 range once again. So another huge book for sure. All right, Tales of Terror Annual. Shout out to John once again, if he's still in the chat. This is a great, cool book. This one, some ghost stuff. Wait a minute. Don't do this to me, Drew. Everybody knows Betty and Veronica. Oh, Veronica Vaughn. So hot. Tales of Terror Annual #1, a true ghost book right here. you guys know the EC books, they used to do the anthology. They stitched them together. I think, how I understand it, Drew knows this history very well. This is the new cover. You can see that they would put some of the EC books in this, and that would be how they did their annuals. So it's kind of like an anthology book. And this one is so rare. There's only like 30 on the census. And this is kind of cool too, because while it doesn't have the interior covers in the 3 books, you could have ones that are like, oh, this has some keys in it. You know, this particular copy that we're looking at here in the Bobby Blue has Vault of Horror 15, Cryptoterror 19, Weird Science 14, and Haunted Fear 16. Can't think of what those books are off the top of my head, but it would be cool to know if there are some books that had some key EC books inside of them. But the Tales of Terror Annual, this is going to be another book that is a ghost book, super, super expensive. The 5.0, $19,000. Only 28 universals on the census. 3.0 went for 15. 5.0 went for 36 in 2021. So do we think we're going to beat the 36? In theory, should it be going up? 2021 was a crazy market. Did it affect Golden Age the same way? Were things inflated for Golden Age books? Is it going to be a little bit of a pullback in 2023? Hard to know, hard to say. Show me LB Cole was a glue sniffer without actually saying it. Absolutely. Starting Terror has gotten hot recently. An all #1 Tales of Terror 1 is a grail of grails for ECs. Absolutely. You know, you might just have to trade a TMNT #1 for it. All right. And the last book of the Bobby Blue collection that I wanted to talk about has me logged out. Take Me Back. This one right here. Now, this one kind of switched up. There was a Sensation 1 in the Bobby Blue collection, but I noticed that this had a turnover and this is no longer the 1. I don't know what happened, if they pulled it from the auction and they swapped it with the 6, but it was kind of weird. In my thumbnail, I have a picture of this book in a 6.0, and it says the Bobby Blue collection on the label, and it has Bobby Blue written on it, not this R shape. And I noticed that it was different in this auction, but it's the same price that it was sitting at $33,000. So kind of a weird thing. I don't know what happens right there, but obviously second appearance of Wonder Woman, first cover appearance, first sort of ongoing series for her. So this is kind of like her equivalent of Batman 1 or Superman 1. If this was the cover for the All-Star Comics 40 something, you know, her actual first appearance, I mean, imagine what that All-Star Comics would go for. This is such a cooler cover than that one for Wonder Woman. This is probably the one that, again, I suspect this should sell pretty big. More comps here. A 701 for 90, 651 for 84, 601 for 86. Currently sitting at 33. So it's got a long way to go. It's got a long way to go. I think under 80 might be a little disappointing for this one. But we will see. We will definitely see if it can get there. The thing about Sensation #1 is that, again, more books on the census, or this is one like Soup 1, like Batman 1, while it's nowhere near common, it's extremely rare, only 74 universals. You just see these ones come up. You see them go up for sale. Like you can see right here in this calendar year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, which compared to some of the other like LB Cole things that we were looking at, I mean, there's like nothing, you know, that is in that last sale. So the options are there for people that want to pick them up. Like could be a huge book. All right, some of the windows have been going away. That's kind of the end of the Bobby Blue stuff. I'll quickly show you guys some interesting books, you know, just some big ones before we kind of wrap it up here. I've been going for about 2 hours. Felt like we did a pretty thorough preview. Had a good time hanging out on this Sunday afternoon. If you guys don't know, as Ozzy pointed out in the chat, Flip Mode is streaming right now. I think they do have a live sale on their Instagram, so you can go check them out. And they're selling some of their Bobby Blue collections in the raw form that they don't have at auction. So Not as big of keys, but you guys can go check them out for sure. But here are some of the other books that are going to be going up. Again, we've been talking about Batman #1. I feel like as far as Batman 1 getting in the club books are concerned, it's a really good opportunity for someone. It's a 2.5 restored C1, but small amount of color touch, tear sealed, small amount of glue in the cover. You can remove this stuff probably. I'm assuming. Don't quote me on that. But could be a good opportunity for someone to get in on this one for sure. You got a Cap Comics #2. Again, another Promise Collection one. This cover was done by Joe Simon. Again, not as dialed of a Captain America as I like, but again, amazing cover. Another Hitler one right there. Very, very cool. I'm sure that this one currently sitting at 5,900. I mean, this could be a really good steal actually for somebody, but a great book. Here's that Captain America Weird Tales #74. This is when they started to go over to the PCH style. Beautiful. Maybe beautiful is the wrong word. Awesome, badass Cap cover that kind of has them crossing over into PCH. This one's going to be another monster at the $6,000 range. You got this one right here, which, guys, this is one that we need to talk about that I'm super interested in. Luke Cage Hero for Hire #1 in a CGC 9.8. Now, why is this notable? Why am I talking about this one? The last time Hero for Hire 1 in a CGC 9.8 went up for sale, where there's only 12 9.8s on the census, 102,000. 6 figures. 102,000. September of 2022. Right now, this book is only sitting at 10,000. Do we think that this book is going to gain another $90,000 in 4 days, 2 hours, 49 minutes, and 30 seconds? I don't know, but man, you know what I mean? Like, this one is really interesting to watch, in my opinion. It's so rare, only 12 at the 9.8 level, but is someone going to pay 102,000 again? I mean, prior to that in 2016, 24,000 was the record sale. And then prior to that in 2014, it was 7,000. That's a big jump going up to 102. It's a really big jump. And I don't know. I don't know if this book is going to be that much. But currently at 10,000, a long way to go for this one. We'll have to see. That Luke Cage is one of the toughest picture frame covers to get in 9.8. Yeah, all black cover. I mean, similar to Marvel Spotlight 5, right? You know, there's only 12 on the census for this one. Similar to Marvel Spotlight 5. I think there's what? There's only 4 9.8s. And then that Marvel Spotlight 5 went for $250. I think Hero for Hire is going to undersell by $30K, placing it in the $60 to $70K range. You might be right. That 102 sale feels like a fluke. It definitely could be. But this is one that I thought was really interesting. Un-Bobby Blue collection related. That was a big one. You know what I mean? That was a big one. This one's going to be tough. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that. And I did want to do maybe some streams during the auction. We can kind of cover this and then maybe do a recap one. And if we do a recap one, I think this one will be interesting to talk about. It feels like, again, when you're at that level, there's only 12 copies. If this book sells for, 70, 80K, that'd still be a monster number. It's like the 100K is anomaly, right? Like, so I'm not going to say that it's like, oh, the book has crashed. It's like, it's still a monster number. It's a 9.8, but off center. Yeah, it could be. You can see the cut a little more white down here than up here. So that could hurt it. There's always aesthetics that can hurt these types of books. But one that I wanted to have my eyes on, You got an Iron Man 5598, maybe not as interesting of a story. What were some other ones here? You had a first Aquaman, which is kind of cool. First Green Arrow, speaking of Green Arrow, restored book. Could be cool, a fun one to watch. What were some of the other ones here? Punch Comics right here, number 12, the Gus Rica cover in a 1/5. And this is also going to be a monster book. And again, it's a get in the club purchase. Even at the 1/5, $6,700. This is another book that got extremely hot recently. More hot. I mean, people were going crazy for this thing. So it'll be interesting to see how this one factors in. A lot of chips on this, but not not in the worst spots, all on the edges. But I know some people really don't like this stuff. When you have an all black cover, like the color breaks really, really show up quite a bit. But I still think this is going to go for a lot of money. 3 more books here that are interesting. Of course, Soup number 1. Once again, wouldn't be a auction without a Superman number 1. Once again, but another obviously big boy book. It's going to go up for sale. TMNT number 1 in a 9/8. Shout out to Drew, Coma Comics. Here you go, first print, $105,000. Current bid. This is one that I think is like the Hero for Hire, might take a little bit of a haircut here with the sales, because what did the last 9/8 go for? Last 9/8s went for 156. All-time record was 264. Now we have 35 on the census, so there's a lot more, but this has been one that has been slowly coming down, right? Went from 52 to 230, then to 264, then 192, then 186, then 156. Currently we're at 105. I suspect this will go lower than 156. That would be my guess. Book probably just shot up way too fast. Way too fast for this one. So another one to keep our eyes on for this for sure. And what was the last book I had pulled up here that I want to talk about? Oh, yeah. Fun one. Do big auction buyers care about Taylor Swift? I thought that would be a kind of a fun one to end on. Only $270 right now, guys. Feels like a good opportunity for somebody that wants to get a Taylor Swift first Dazzler 9/8. I mean, either way, it's an all black cover. 9/8s are tough in this book. It was only about 7% of the census. There's a lot of copies out there, but only 7% actually can hit that 9/8 level. So still a tough book, still a tough book, even though it is, basically end of Bronze Age, Copper Age book. But a very, very cool one that would be fun to end on. Well, I'd be going for 2 hours and 18 minutes. There's a storm coming here to SoCal. Actually, the rain has stopped for a little bit, so I think it's probably a good time to walk my dog and let her go to the bathroom while she doesn't get rained on. But I thought that would be cool to go over the Bobby Blue collection. A lot of big books coming up this week. It's going to be really cool to watch some of them sell. A lot of different stories going into it. Obviously, in some ways, it's very, very exciting. Some of the books probably going to set records in grade. Some of the books might go a little under because of the writing on the cover. Some books hard to predict what they're going to sell for. Other books might take some haircuts. And even outside all the Bobby Blue books, there's a lot of big books still in the going up for sale. So we'll definitely be covering it this week. We'll keep our eye on it. It'll be cool to see, what some of these books sell for. And I'll be happy to report on all of it. So yeah, thanks so much for hanging out, guys, with me tonight, or not tonight. I'm used to saying tonight, but today. Hope you guys enjoy your Sunday. And yeah, I think I'm going to play you out with another commercial. Once again, little shameless plug right here. You guys want to support SwaggleHouseComics.com. Head on over to the shop, pick up my comic. Issue 2 is done. Issue 3 is in the works. And I will have that coming out for you guys very, very soon. So definitely go pick up a book if you get a chance. I'm going to play you guys out with a commercial because, hey, got to milk it while I can. But thanks so much for hanging out on the stream. And I will see you all in the next one. See you guys. Hi, I'm Mickey, also known as Swagglehoss from the YouTube channel Swagglehoss Comics and Games, where I talk about the hobby of comics and comic book collecting. And I'm here to tell you that your comic book collection deserves better.
What the hell, man?
And it's gonna have spine ticks. You see, for the last few years, your pull list has been plagued with low-quality printing, overdone gimmick covers, and rare exclusive variants that are rarely exclusive nor varied. But with my new comic series Sanity, Rise of the Occult, a Lovecraftian pulp adventure that pays homage to the detective style of comics from the Golden Age, I promise to subvert your expectations by actually providing you a high-quality comic with a cohesive story in its pages. Yeah, that's right. There's a story behind this cover. You see, Sanity wasn't created by some click of a button on an AI program intended to make the FOMO book of the week. It was done the old-fashioned way, sitting at a desk for weeks on end, developing carpal tunnel and bad posture, and not getting paid a single dollar to do so. I mean, aren't you tired of paying for overpriced foiled variants that publishers have marked up? With my book, you can get yourself a copy, a box of Reynolds wrap with over 75 strips of shiny, and have enough money left over to save up for that Grail you've been going after. Dark Hawk Blood to the moon! And do you really need another book with Power Girl on the cover showing off her massive capes? The problem with those covers is that it requires you to change the bag every 2 days, and have you seen the prices for comic book supplies? That Mylar really adds up. My book only requires one bag. Scrolls. So head on over to SwagglehossComics.com and start improving your comic book collection today with a copy of Sanity issue number 1. And be quick! Because when I say my print run is limited, I actually mean it. How's that for proof of destruction? My name is Swagglehoss, and I'm here to tell you that your comic book collection deserves better.